and welcome to another movie review. I'm the Bulk, and today we're talking about Hereditary. Directed by Ari Aster, the film follows a miniature artist whose mother has recently passed away. Now, this artist is the head of a family consisting of a father, a son, and a daughter. And as they come to terms with their grief, mysterious things start happening around the household. To tell you any more about the film would spoil it heavily, and to be honest, I really don't want to, as this is a film that you need to experience firsthand, as I feel that is an absolute masterpiece of filmmaking. Now, whether or not it works for everyone in terms of horror and story, yeah, that's another thing, but in terms of a piece of film, it is absolutely astoundingly well made. The first thing I feel I should talk about when discussing the high points of this film is the acting. Every member of the core family is pulling their weight here. Specific shout-outs go to Toni Collette, who plays the mother of the family. She is demonstrating absolute mastery of her art here. She really sells the different stages of grief. She really delivers the emotional beats that you would expect, because she has to go through quite a lot. She has to go through extreme highs of sadness, to extreme anger, to confusion, to all of the above, which is an incredibly difficult thing to do as an actor, especially within just one film, but she pulls it off masterfully. Another highlight I feel I should point out is the actor who plays the son of the family, Alex Wolff. He was previously in Jumanji last year, and he's given a nice prominent role here, and he's absolutely fantastic at what he does. He really does sell this loner kid he's a bit boisterous and a bit out there, but then of course tragedy hits the family and he becomes very introverted. He becomes very bookish, and he's filled with regret and worry, and there's a dynamic between him and Toni Collette's character that I find really interesting. I can't talk about it here because I don't want to spoil anything, but there's an event that happens that really shifts the dynamics of the family and really puts the actors through their paces. And the last actor I feel like I should talk about is Milly Shapiro, who plays the daughter of the family. She really is creepy. Like, not in the forced creepy way, but in the naturally creepy sense. She really, really gets to you. There's just something about the way she carries herself and the way that she looks at you and doesn't seem to blink, and it's just this very timid way about her. And there's just something about that brings like a new level to the film. It's hard to explain, really. Again, because I can't talk about much of her involvement, though she does kind of play in, though not as much as I thought. That was one thing. The trailers make out that she's in the film a lot more than she is. That's not to suggest anything, that's just saying that she isn't in the film as much as the trailers would have you believe. I feel the big thing to talk about here, though, of the film, even though the acting is superb, is just the skill that's been put into making it. Ari Aster's a first-time director. He's done several shorts before dealing with grief and other bits and pieces, but this is his first feature film, and you would never believe it that it was his first feature because it's so well done. His composition of shots, his movement of the camera, his sound design especially, all of it is just absolutely fantastically well composed. It's unbelievable for a first-time director to have such a strong debut. His writing is very tight. It allows the characters to sort of feel growed a bit, though not as much as I think perhaps they wanted it to, because you're only in one snapshot. You only get like a certain amount of growth from them. However, you do feel like you get to know them, and you do empathise with their grief and the intrigue of what's actually going on. Though I must admit, his way of scaring the audience is a lot different from the conventional sense, because in more mainstream stuff you get like jump scares and things jumping out at you and creatures and so forth. But in this one he goes for a lot more subtle. So a lot of it's more like sounds of jump scares, but not in like the cheap way, in more of a really well constructed way. And he, in general, builds this really unsettling tone. I don't know if you would find it as scary, but this is a very unsettling film, and he's got a very big grasp on how to really get to an audience, especially about 20 minutes, half an hour in. There's something that happens. I didn't know what was going to happen. They never indicated that it was going to happen, but it happens, and holy Christ, is it, like, does it get you? Like, I'm not normally one of these people to get truly affected by the film, but that sequence really got you, because it happens, and part of you thinks that can't have just happened. They can't have just done that, but they did. And then the shots that happen afterwards are so well put together, and how he constructs that sequence is so, it's so tense, and it so gets to you that it's unbelievable that he actually got away with it. In terms of negatives, I don't really have anything to fault in terms of the making, the art, the acting, or any of that. My main negatives are more observations about the film, and the big one for me is that it is not for everyone. I believe I've said this before about films, but this one, it really does hammer home that it's not for everyone, because you may expect a certain thing from the way they've marketed it and the way that people have talked about it, but you would be completely wrong, because nothing could quite prepare you for the experience, because it's so different from the way that you would expect. That mainly comes from the plot, because for the first hour of this film, and it's about two-hour movie, for the first hour you think it's going along one direction, you think it's going to one specific place. It's going to talk about grief and other bits and pieces like that, and it feels very much like The Babadook, which is one of the only other horror films to ever get to me, but this one, it just felt a bit like all films, like those slow burn films that you may have got in like the early 70s, and it builds into it quite well, but then at that hour point, the film doesn't just do a U-turn. To put into perspective how big of a U-turn this film does, this film gets out of its car, gets into another car made by the exact same company, exact same manufacturer, drives that car to another country, and then does a U-turn. That's how big of a shift there is in this film. It completely goes off to an area that I didn't think it was going to. It pulls a plot out of nowhere that I didn't think it would need and was going to, and it just goes into a direction that was so unexpected. Now, there's going to be a lot of arguments over whether or not it actually worked. For me, it did and didn't, because there was some bits of it I liked, some bits of it I didn't, and I felt like they just explained it too much. If they made it a bit more ambiguous, I could have kind of got into it, but because they explained it so heavily, I didn't really feel as affected by it. I didn't think the revelations really hit as much. Like, they really made you understand at the end what was going on, and I feel that if they were just a little bit more sort of less on the nose, so to speak, that they could maybe have got away with it. But to be honest, that's my main thoughts on the film. I think it's a masterpiece of filmmaking. I think that Ari Aster's got a wonderful career ahead of him in terms of filmmaking. The actors on show, like, if this doesn't get nominated for an Oscar in some respect, like, I don't expect it to win, not because I think the film's bad, but because of the current state of the Academy at the minute. I mean, geez. But the point I'm trying to say is, I think it's a great movie, an experience that you must seek out if you're not just a horror fan, but a fan of films in general. Though, I wouldn't go into it expecting the thrill ride experience that some people have been making it out to be. And for that reason, I'm giving the film a 9.5 out of 10. So, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please hit that like and subscribe button for more, and I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye.